Hi, everyone.
Right.
Hi, everyone. We're just getting organized. We'll give people a minute to come in.
Right.
You should tell us where you are in the chat while we're all arriving.
Okay.
Hey, I know some of those names. Look at that. There's some friends in the house.
That's good to know.
Yes.
Maryland, Argentina, Colorado.
So, I'm sure we have Argentina and Colorado, but where else do we have?
Colombia.
Ceci, I think that's you. You're sending us a direct message. You might need to send to all panelists.
Yeah. Good morning from Peru, Buenos Aires. Hi, ladies. Hi, everyone.
Hola. Hello.
Hola, hola.
Good morning. Good afternoon, evening. Hi, Graciela.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock where Natallia and I are in Colorado. And it's noon
it's
in Argentina,
PM,
right?
yes.
Yeah, you're
Noon
at
time,
noon.
yes.
It's noon.
Just before lunch.
Yeah.
We are like lunchers here.
Okay, you want to start,
Okay.
Maria Jose? You want to? Oh, Stephanie's here. Great. So here is Stephanie joining
We're
us.
going to start by introducing our women localization a bit and talking about the organization. Just give me a second because I want to share with you some slides. Just 1 second.
Peru, we need a chapter in Peru. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Stephanie can't hear us or say anything. She's having technical difficulties. So, Maria Jose, do you want to do the introduction with the slides or do you want me to?
I'm trying to share that.
Why don't you do it then? You share them and do the introduction part.
All right.
So our fearless leader in Colorado is having technical difficulties this morning, Stephanie Cardwell. She's having a Zoom moment, and we all know what those look like, don't we?
Yes,
Yes.
we are. Okay. Let me do that. That's one. Oh,
so everybody, make sure, can I make a housekeeping announcement? Make sure you send your chats to all panelists and attendees. Otherwise, only we are seeing them.
Only the host can do this. Sara, are you the host?
No, it's good.
No.
Only the host can share.
You haven't made us co-hosts. Maria, you're the host now. Good.
No, you're the host.
Now I'm the host. Okay. All right. So let me.
I'm sharing. Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go. So women in localization. Here we are. And women in localization.
You need to make it slide view, slideshow.
Yes, present. Yeah.
There we go.
Yes. Okay, just a second. So, women in localization, and here we are, and we are honored to be together, the Argentine chapter and the Colorado chapter, in this wonderful event that's taken place today. We know there are many people on the other side waiting for us to share knowledge, and that will come after. But first of all, we need to introduce the association. Of course, anyone who is willing to become a volunteer is open to that. And we're going to share many times during the event, though, different channels through which you can contact us and become volunteers in our chapters. So, what is our mission? The mission of the Women in Localization is to foster, of course, a global community for the advancement of women and the localization industry. And you can see all the information in www.womeninlocalization.com. About women. Women in Localization is a certified tax-exempt nonprofit organization. Its mission, as we said, is to foster a global community for the advancement of women and the localization industry through networking, education, career advancement, mentoring, and recognition for women's accomplishments. It was founded in San Francisco Bay Area in 2008, and is supported by thousands of women and men across the globe and local chapters who support members locally. It's important to mention that not only women can gather the organization, men are also allowed and welcome, of course. So if you want to learn more about this wonderful organization, you can go to these links that we are showing here on screen, and which of course you can find in the website. You can follow us in Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and many other networks and channels. All right, and this is the wonderful board of women who are behind the scenes working every day for this organization. And of course, there are many chapters involved and many people working all over the world in order to reach our goals and missions. So if you want to, I'll stop sharing a bit. And you will be able to find, because I think the clock is ticking, and you'll be able to find all this information, as I mentioned before, in Women Localization website, and we'll then share more information at the end for you to join the organization also by, I think there's a Q code that you can just click there and you're in. So, Sara, after this, we are in.
Hi, people. Hi, ladies. Hi, people. How are you? Okay, here we are, right into the event, into the panel. My name is Sara Medina. I will be the moderator today. I've been in the localization industry myself for almost 20 years now. And at the moment, I'm a client solution manager at Arcadia Translation, a company which I co-founded with other 4 partners. Today, the name of this panel is Localization Behind the Scenes. Why behind the scenes? Because we were thinking what to share with you that could be of interest. And we know that there are many things that we can easily research and study on translation and localization, but there are other things that are not so easy to find. Real life experiences on the different roles any of us may have in the industry. That's why we decided to call this Behind the Scenes. We're going to share with you real life experiences from women who have been in the industry for several years and have forged successful careers and businesses. In this panel, we have included different perspectives. We have client side, language service providers, and freelance linguists themselves. They will share interesting insights and point of view from their own perspectives, so we can all further understand this fast-paced and challenging world we are in. So without further ado, let me introduce the speakers. We have Melisa Piccinetti. Hi, Meli, how are you?
Hi.
She's a senior localization program manager at Eventbrite. Natallia Casey, operations specialist at TuneIn. They are both our client side here today. Majo, María José Alberto, she's the general manager of Inside Language Solutions. And we have Karen Tkaczyk. Did I pronounce it?
You're
almost
perfect.
Well? She's a highly specialized freelance translator who has recently become Director of Life Sciences Solutions as Master Work. Okay, I have just introduced all of them, all our expert women today. Now we're going to start sharing perspectives on client side. We're going to start with Meli. Meli will tell us a little bit about what is specifically the position of localization senior program manager at Eventbrite, what triggers a localization request, why working with freelance translators or translation agencies, and she will talk a little bit about management tools. Meli, all yours.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Sara. Well, 3 different questions. The first one is related to where the localization team is inside Eventbrite. We are under the engineering department. So our main customer inside the company is engineering, and we change or adapt our workflow in order to follow them as they use agile methodology. So we're working with them to translate every day. But we have other clients inside the company, like human resources, customer support, legal, finance, marketing, sales. So depending on the type of content that they send us is how we coordinate the work with agencies, let's say. So that's what actually triggers the translation request, is literally the request that we receive from other teams. And then, well, why we work with the agency? Basically, at Eventbrite, the localization team is kind of small. We are only 3 people. So we don't have the infrastructure to manage all the global presence that the company has. Eventbrite has 11 main languages, and we need at least a translator and a backup translator per language. So we are not able to support that. So we request to the agencies in order to have this kind of human resources solution that guarantee us to have the translation the whole year, every day, and do not have any issue or string or content not translated. So the agencies are partnered for us that guarantee that Eventbrite can have their global presence the whole year. So that's the main reason why we look for them. And the other question was related to
management tools.
Management tools, yes. Well, we use 2 mainly softwares. One is Transifex that help us to coordinate this semi-automated process that we have with engineering, where the code, the strings of the code enters in the system and the translators can access, translate them, and then the translated strings came back or sync back into our code. This is a very safe environment that we use to give them access to the translators. And then we use another tool that is XTM, in this case, to manage all the other type of content. Depending on the type of content is how we communicate, coordinate that. And basically what these 2 tools help us is to, let's say, to control the due dates, to allow us to add the related content, style guides, glossaries. But the most important part is to build the translation memory that help the translators, of course, every day, but also help us to reduce the cost with the time. So that's why we consider important to use these 2 software. There are many software. These are the 2 that we use, of course. But that's the goal. Of course, we use also email communications. The idea is to have a very open and direct and friendly communication with the agencies. So even if the translator have questions, they can contact us. So the tools are to organize, let's say, the content and the project mostly.
Can you repeat? You said XTM. What was the other one you said?
Yes, Transifex is the one that we use for the engineering part, and XTM for all the other content.
Yeah, probably most linguists know XTM now. Thank you, Meli. It's very interesting to get to know how you work at Eventbrite. Natallia can add to that. She's the operations specialist at TuneIn. How do you outsource localization? How do you work with localization projects? How do you align localization workflow with agile development? Please tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, hello everyone, and thank you, Sara, for the question. So we at TuneIn, in my opinion, are creating a great product that allows people to listen to various stations and podcasts and events from all over the world. The need for localizing such a product was considered in the early stage of the development of this product. I have been with the company for 9 years and witnessed several strategy changes as well as a shift from the in-house to the outsourced localization. When making such a shift, the main goal is to preserve the quality or even improve it, the quality of localization, while meeting the deadlines, the budget, and making this process a seamless one for both the buyer and the language service provider. One thing to remember when you are shifting from the in-house to the outsourced localization is that the in-house team usually participates in the meeting. They help create a style guide, a glossary, so they know the product really well, while the pool of translators and linguists on the vendor's side are usually helping localize several products in parallel, and they're not as familiar with your product. That's why it's really important to provide a detailed demonstration of your product and to explain who your customers are, and also to share a style guide, glossary, and translation memory to help make to help preserve the consistency. When making a shift from the in-house to the outsourced localization, you are adding a new component in your localization product, and you are also adding a new partner. So you are basically adding some extra time to your process. It's important to make sure that that doesn't prevent you from meeting the deadlines. That's why streamlining localization processes or including some automation could be very helpful. It's also essential to create a good pattern of communication with your new partner, language service provider. It's vital to recognize their achievements and to provide a good guidance. And it's also a good practice to organize a meeting where all of the stakeholders involved in the localization are introduced to each other, because the more you know what to expect from each other, the easier it's going to be later on. So there's a strong positive correlation here. And finally, you are aiming at this partnership being cost effective. So it's good to help your partner provide quality work within your budget while using effective negotiation strategies, and also explaining the contract terms really well, and of course valuing and respecting the hard work of your partner. So we at Tunin are using the agile methodology, which is a methodology where the software development is usually developed in sprints. And when the software is developed, the new strings are created. The goal is to make sure that in such a fast localization process, the accuracy and consistency are still achieved. That's why you need to align some of your components and processes to meet this, to make sure that this process goes well. First of all, you need a solution that will allow you to start working on the strings as soon as they are created. It can be an in-house developed solution, or it can be a commercially available one. The idea behind such a solution is for you to start working as soon as possible on the strings, to be able to track the process, and also to make sure that all of the deadlines are met without sacrificing the quality of work. And also, when you are working within Agile, very often we introduce high quality machine translation to be able to work in such a fast-paced environment. And but you also need to remember that there are other requests that don't need to be finished within the sprints. So it's good to be prepared for all kinds of scenarios. And using automation is also very helpful. For example, you can automate the internal review, like checking for certain typos and errors, or checking the character count, or checking for any mismatched placeholders, and even sometimes checking for the complexity of the received translation. And finally, when you are using such a methodology, the agile, you are creating a product as a collaborative effort, and it's very important to make sure that localization is viewed as an essential part of this methodology, and that you don't lag behind.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. As you mentioned, automation and machine translation is widely used in the industry. It's something that that every linguist and every actor, player in the industry has to take into account. For some of us that have been in the industry for several years, it was like something new, let's say a couple of years ago, but we know that now it has come and it will stay. And we are all working with that. You also mentioned the role of how to be in contact and well communicated with language service providers when you outsource localization projects. And here we have Majo, who is the General Manager of Insight Language Solutions, that will share also the perspective of a language service provider. But give me a minute before talking to Majo, I like to mention that today we have a special prize. We are going to raffle some meet and greets like you do with famous rock stars, where here we have our women rock stars. We're going to to raffle some meet and greet, some coaching sessions among the participants. We're going to choose the best questions, so then we have the chance to meet any of the speakers, not each of them, any of the speakers, and have an hour conversation with them about your interest. So please don't be afraid, share your questions, and you'll be prized for that.
Yep,
so now
we'll pick our favorite. We'll pick our favorite. We'll each pick our favorite question right at the end.
Yes, at the end. So we keep the suspense. Okay, Majo. Hello, Majo.
Yes. Hi, how are you? How are you?
Here we are. I don't know if I have introduced you enough. You can just talk a little bit about yourself. And Majo will share with us some common roles in a translation agency, in a translation company, how linguists are recruited, the typical life cycle of a project. Majo.
Okay. All right. So what I was thinking while before this webinar, and what I would like to share is and for you, for the audience to have some takeaways regarding where are we standing here and the role that each of us has in this industry. Because I know that many of the people who listen or are attending this webinar are interested in how to reach that client, how to get that project. And it's very important to know the client. It's very important to know who your client is. It's very important to focus on the client. It is not only to be a great translator. You can be awesome, but you need to know your client and what your client needs, because if you don't, you may be a wonderful linguist or translator, but you're focusing on you instead of on your client needs. So that's something that I wanted to mention from the very beginning. And also I wanted to share that you need to know, for example, that within LSPs, there are many people working, or not that many, because, for example, you can find a small translation company or these giants that you can find in the market today. And depending on the size of the company is going to be the structure, the internal structure that you're going to find. And that implies to know who are you talking to and who is the people who's going to be your facilitator, the person who's going to contact you, who is going to, for example, you may have project managers, vendor managers. Of course, you may have in-house or not, linguists, editors, terminologists, engineers, translators, of course, localizers, and so forth. But the point is, as a freelancer, and as a, of course, and as an end client, you need to know who the person is, the person that is going to be your main contact. For a freelancer, most probably is going to be a vendor manager or a project manager, because sometimes project managers fulfill both roles. So I think that's important for you to know when you look for information in LinkedIn, for example, on the network. And if you see project managers and vendor managers, those may be great people to contact. If you are an end client, well, what's your pain? What do you need? What are you looking for? You may don't know. That's another thing. And so one huge point here for everyone is to be flexible at this point in time, and to know that you may not know all the things that you may need. For the end client, for example, they may not know that before starting a translation process or a localization process, you need to be prepared from the code point of view. Depending on what do you want to do, where do you want to sell your products, or where do you want to, if you want to localize something, or you want to internationalize something or globalize something, depending on the scope. And if you are a freelancer, well, here we have these two beautiful ladies who are explaining us that they use their own tools, and they have their tools and they use them. So you need to learn them. Otherwise, you won't be able to work with them. So flexibility in that aspect is really essential. You need to learn new things. I remember when I learned Trados, and I was a freelancer many, many years ago. And oh my God, I mean, going from from the typewriter to Trados and everything, and having a translation memory was like huge, like going to Mars. And now you have a new tool every day. So that means that the industry moves fast, and that services change. So it's not that you're only going to find translation, edition, the typical TEP process. Now we do have, because of the large amount of content that is created, you have post-edition, which is a new service, and we have to embrace it like it is, because it is another way of working, and it's the only way to cope with content. That was another thing. So maybe I talked different things, but I guess that the main thing here, the main takeaway, is to know your client, and to know if it is an end client, if it is a multilingual vendor, if it is an LSP, and understand, for example, that if you are trying to catch an LSP or a multilingual vendor, you're going to find they have inside the structure all these style guides and glossaries and all the specifications you may need for a given project. But if it is an end client, this person may not know what they need. So you need to ask them, do you have a style guide? Do you have certain terminology that you want to follow? Do you have any tool that you would like us to use and to learn? So it's very important to know who your client is. I know what was the other question.
I wanted to ask you if you think that your previous experience as a freelance translator helped you to understand what a client needs.
Yes, of course, because well, as an LSP, I changed and tested all the hats. I wore all the hats along these last 20 years. So I started as a freelancer, and then I decided to run my own company. But what I learned as a freelancer was many things by being flexible, by always saying, I want to learn. I want to see how this works. I want to try. We are curious by nature, I mean, we are. I mean, translators are curious people. We all love reading about medicine or I know different topics, and we believe sometimes we are architects or doctors. We are almost doctors always. I'm sure of that. But well, and the thing is that we cannot operate anyone, of course. But the thing is that you learn a lot, and all. I mean, by changing from one position to the other, and having the experience as you, Sara, I mean, having the experience of being in your own organization from the very beginning, I'm sure you learned a lot as well. And and you learn what to ask, and it's important as a freelancer, again, to be flexible, to know today what are the skills that are needed. I mean, of course, we have hard skills. We know how to translate. We know how to cope with software. sometimes better, sometimes, I mean, you have to study more and practice more. But nowadays, I do think that the skills that everyone is looking for are the soft ones. Yes. And that has to do with flexibility, and that has to do with teamwork, and that has to do with all these things that you can learn, and you have to train that. And communication is not the same. One of the questions, I think it was, how do you hire freelancers? And communication is basic. I mean, having good communication, I mean, respectful, empathy, those things today are really, really essential to anyone. So yes. Those are, it's not just that, okay, she knows Straddles, she knows MemoQ, she knows the tool that I need. Because we focus, of course, in long-term relationships. And we need to understand that as well, because we want long-term relationships with clients and with translators.
Yes, you have all mentioned communication as one of the essentials of making relationships work. So I think that
in life,
that's how it
right?
is. Yeah,
in life. So why wouldn't it be necessary in our industry? I mean,
yes.
We do need that.
Yes. Karen also started her career as a freelance translator. Can you share your experience with us? What languages do you work, or did you work at the time?
Well, it's the recent transition. So French into English, UK and US, and I localized English as well for LSPs. And my basket of clients has been about 50-50 LSP and end clients for about the past 10 years. Before that, it was also my early years, it was all LSPs. So I had both experiences. I like that breakdown for lots of reasons.
Yeah, and what do you think about it? What do you think about having direct clients and LSPs? What is different about them? What is the best clients for a freelance translator? What is the best client for you?
So obviously it varies a little from freelancer to freelancer, but you've already hit some of the important points, so I can pick up on that. One of you talked about, well, let's start with the one you just finished on, Majo, communication. I would say we all want to work with people that we know and like and actually want to work with, right? that is the same for everyone. If you feel that you know and like Natallia, you're more likely to want to work for Natallia, right? So there's one angle. And for some people, that empathy or relationship with the client is what makes it the good client, right? So there's that angle. One angle would be, you know what, I'm not going to say the rate per word is not the reason. It's the gross, it's how much I make per hour that matters. It's my gross revenue per hour. So I can make a certain rate per word, but I'm using the tool I'm an expert in, and I'm extremely productive, and I'm going to be making much more per hour than if I'm using the other tool that I know I work in when a client requires it, but it doesn't have the functionality. Let's say it's one of the more recent online tools, and it doesn't have the functionality of one of the long established desktop tools. Let's say that would be a reasonable assumption. I'm not going to make as much an hour. I'm not, and so that's one thing. I might be slower, but I might also not feel that the quality assurance is up to scratch. I might think that the QA tools in that particular tool are not going to give me the same results as this set of QA tools that I use with another client. So there's one angle, you know, so yes, we need to learn tools. We need to be willing to work with the tools that all of our clients want us to use. But you're going to find that the very best freelancers say, well, you know what, I don't need to work with you because I've found a whole basket of clients who let me work with that tool. So I'm going to skip you because I'm going to make a bit less because of your methods. So that's a factor, right?
Yes.
What other factors are there? Workflow. You've talked a lot about workflows, processes, systems, automation, right? So personally, I place a lot of value on a clear workflow, simple communication, predictability. I know what's coming in. I know where the files are never sometimes in an email and sometimes downloadable. That's predictable. The process is the same, process is consistent, so that the workflow is clear and I'm not wasting time. So you're getting the pattern for me, right? I like to not waste time. I like to be productive, because time is money for freelancers, right? Our salary varies according to what we can produce, right? So yes, we understand the need for automation, but you've got to be careful that your vendor managers are establishing relationships with, as well as that automation, or aside from the automated job requests that go out, because a lot of people are off-put by those automated job requests that have no personal connection. So, so find a way to build that into your workflow, whether it's a once a month check-in, or something. It can be, if your process is automated and jobs are going out without any personal contact, you might want to build something else into your system to build that personal connection. So that's,
I think that's very interesting. What do you think, Natallia and Melisa, about it, to build even some personal relationship, even when you have automated requests? How do you feel about it? Do you agree with Karen?
Yes, I agree.
It gives better results.
Yeah, I think, yes, as I mentioned before, you have to recognize the achievements, and when you try to provide guidance, maybe they need some additional information or something like that. You have to keep in touch.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. That's what you just said, feedback. Translators crave feedback. So if someone's doing a great job, tell them. Don't only tell them when there's a problem. Or,
yes,
give them recommendations on LinkedIn, right? You all have your go-tos, right? We all know who they are, right? Our absolute favorite client or vendor. Recommend them on LinkedIn. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add regarding feedback is that feedback is always the chance of learning something.
Of course.
I mean, it's not to criticize. We work a lot with feedbacks with our in-house team, and we receive feedbacks from our clients all the time. And that's great, because sometimes clients make a mistake, or the reviewers are not seeing what we see or justify differently. And that keeps you trained, keeps your eye trained. So looking into feedback and answering that, it's a way of going through what you know, what you don't know, and learning. It's always a learning opportunity.
And that's a big difference between in-house translators and freelance translators. Yes. That's what you hear. A lot of people who say started in-house and then went freelance, it's like, oh, I don't have any feedback anymore. I don't have the daily connection with my team. So a lot of us, you asked, I think, Sarah, what the best clients, that's where we started, right? So the best clients, if there are big projects, if we're working in teams, if it's TEP, tell us who each other is, let us communicate, because we're going to grow and learn, right? Like you said, Maho, we're going to grow and learn if we can talk to each other and say, well, why did you do that? Was that just a mistake, or did you deliberately choose that term? That's a odd way to say that for this context. If we can't talk to them, if we don't know who they are, we can't do it, right? So
yeah, and it's important to answer that feedback as well, because sometimes,
of course,
you produce that feedback as an LSP. We give feedback to our linguists, and sometimes they say, okay, yes, and you give the feedback and that's it. And please do take the chance to see the comments and disagree. Right. Disagreeing is fantastic, because
the best clients do that. Right. The best clients say, here's the feedback. Do you agree or not? And you go through and like, well, I agree with 9, but those 2 I don't agree with.
Arbitration is essential in every job.
And those are the best clients. That kind of communication is what makes up the best clients. Sure. And I found that for me, the best clients were a mixture of end clients and LSPs. And that was because so the LSPs, generally speaking, very predictable communication, workflows, throughput, volume, just solid. They're like a solid foundation, but somewhat impersonal often. Whereas my end clients, it's more of a consulting relationship. It's more of a personal, and the deadlines are not the same. There's much more. So for me, that has been a perfect balance for my personal situation, it was a personal, it was just a perfect balance to have that combination. Yeah, and every freelancer is different. Some people don't want to do any marketing. They want to work only for LSPs so that the LSPs do all the marketing.
You have to.
Yes.
Right?
You have to work on your brand. Your name is
well,
your
there's
brand.
that. There is that, but that's not building our personal brand is not quite the same as marketing to, let's say in my case, chemical companies. It's a bit, there's a different strategy involved, right? So, yeah. Did I cover that one enough, Sarah? Do you have,
Yeah. I was thinking about, when I read your bio, you said that you were a highly specialized freelance translators, and sometimes as linguists, it's difficult to decide if you're going to specialize or not, how to choose your specialization, if you choose it, or if you just start working on certain fields and then you are specialized on that. What was your experience with that?
So I'm one of those freelancers who came into language services as a second career. So I had a tailor-made specialization. Yeah. And I like that one and stuck with it. So that's my case. I was always highly specialized in pharma and chemicals and cosmetics and paint and you name it. If it was chemical, I do it. Now that I've transitioned into an LSP, I'm working on those clients only within that LSP. But other translators who change careers are changing careers because they don't like the previous career. You know, they were an engineer, but they don't actually want to translate engineering, right? And then, of course, there's the classic linguists who studied languages and came in early career, and they need to get some sort of life experience to develop that specialization. So that's a topic I've spoken on, Sarah, quite some lots of different training and webinars over the years. It takes a long time. It takes work. Goes back to Marot's point about wanting to learn, and we're almost doctors and we're almost architects.
Yes,
that's right. You hit the nail on the head there, because that is exactly what it is.
Yeah,
and you do. No, there are, and some of us, like me, have chosen to be only one thing. But you find other people who are, you know, taxation, right? Well, almost everything's dangerous, but at least almost two things or almost three things. Not many people can be legal and medical and engineering and game localization. You know, those are not your best people, right?
No, you need several lives for that.
There's
something very important regarding, I mean, not only areas of expertise, but when you say, for example, as a freelancer, that you produce 10,000 words a day, there is a red alarm that I say, okay, I'm not quite sure of how the word 9,099 is gonna be, right? So be careful with the information that as a translator you share when you contact your potential client, either an end client or an LSP. Because there are some parameters that we look at, and those things, I mean, quality for everyone is extremely relevant. And that is gonna make us, I mean, a bit suspicious, but be careful with that. And with saying, of course, you do, I know, 13 languages. Or that
that's the worst one for me. It's like,
thing,
really?
Right?
How many native languages do you have, really?
Where were you born? Because maybe it could be that you have 4 or 5 languages, but 13 could be too much,
right. Well, 4 or 5 if it's Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, French, okay. But if it's Russian, Chinese, Arabic, Spanish, not so much, right?
Right. That's right.
I don't know if you have any questions. I mean, the people watching us, please share your questions. Yes, in the meantime, sorry, Karen.
I was going to say why I switched. Right?
Yes, sorry. You're right. Sorry. I missed that. Yeah.
Because there will be freelancers watching and going, wait, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
During the pandemic, you know, we all went through some sort of reflection about what we wanted to be when we grow up, right? And that time corresponded with me with I almost have no children at home. I have one at home for another little while, but he has a car and a job and high school, and he doesn't. So I've been a freelancer during the children years. My children were 1, 3, and 5 when I started as a freelancer, and now the 17-year-old's the only one left at home. So that and a whole pile of other tipping points made me think about looking for something different, growth and change. You talked about wanting to grow and learn. So I decided to do radical growth and change and started looking for jobs earlier this year. So I just started at Masterword, and I get to stick with that subject matter expertise that's been my signature, if you like. It's been my signature throughout my whole career. So I started there at the end of May, so it's all brand new, but it's fabulous. I'm loving it. So, and I can still, because of the wonderful agreement, I'm allowed to translate and decide from time to time for certain clients. So I'm keeping my finger in that pie, doing the odd job for my favorite people. So that's been fun too. I still get to do a little bit of everything. But yeah, so I'm getting to see the LSP side, and I'm getting to see that the process from the other angle, and it's behind the scenes. The more you know, the more you grow, the more you learn, the more you can give. So great stuff.
We are getting some questions.
I only see one of them in the Q&A, or the others in chat. Can you paste them in? Yeah, can you paste them into chat so we can see them, or are you going to ask them, Sarah?
Glenda, I'm going to read some of them. They're copying and pasting them for me. Yes, there will be a recording available. And is there any specific training a language professional needs to do to work with agile methodologies, or is it just something you learn on the job? Maybe Natalie, she talked about, Natallia, sorry, you talked about agile methodologies.
Yeah. So I personally learned it on the job. I did not take any courses. I just started the job, and I was told that we usually do the sprints in like 2 weeks, and that's how it is. That these are the deadlines. You are basically just introduced to, the tools, introduced to the ways to make everything faster, and you're introduced to how you need to work, who to work with your teammates to make it all, optimized. And you don't really need to take a course. You can read about the differences between the agile and the waterfall, and maybe the differences between the traditional agile, which is what we are sort of doing when the development happens in sprints, and the agile, which is more of a continuous development where the product is basically ready to release at every moment of time, where the development happens continuously, and where localization happens continuously as well. And the waterfall, it's a different methodology. You don't do it in sprints where you develop. You have a plan, a big plan, how to develop everything in stages, and then it takes it a lot longer, and you have the final product, what the final product is going to look like, versus with the agile, you just add certain features at different times, and you're not sure what new feature you're going to develop. You just take the feedback from the customer, and you rely on that. So I don't think you need a course, or you just get introduced to that.
Yes.
Maybe.
Well, there are some trainings about agile methodology. They are focused mostly to engineering or engineers. So you can learn what is agile methodology and being a Scrum Master. But if you have experience in the localization industry, you can join both worlds.
Yes.
But we don't have a specific localization agile training.
Exactly. These things happen in an industry, and it's very common. For example, project managers, there are no academic, for example, at least in Argentina, academic careers, let's say, or courses to follow specifically for project managers in our industry. You have project managers all over, in every industry. And these things are adapted to the different sectors. So I'm sure that what you, Meli and Natallia are saying, that's happening right now. These things are mainly born from engineering, and then they are adapted to the different industries. So you can start learning right now. If you, there are many things to learn and to read, but I don't think there will be something specific for our industry.
Yeah, I'm married to a Scrum Master. That's the kind of way you learn usually. You're married to a doctor or a Scrum. In my case, he is a Scrum Master.
Oh, mine is a lawyer.
There you go. So, you know, there's a lot of ways that you learn like that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you have some certifications and some trainings to be like a localization project manager. So you can see there the difference that Natallia mentioned, the waterfall, the agile.
But that's quite new.
Yes,
That's
and it's
quite new.
international. It's not in Argentina in this case. If you're looking for that, it's all in English. But you have some options, and currently I think that the pandemic helped. Pandemic helped with it, and most of them are online, so you don't need to travel. That helps.
Yeah, that's good. That's one of the good things.
Yes.
Let me see. We have some questions about QA. Karen, would you like to answer that? They would like to know more about how you all carry out the QA.
Yeah, hey, I love that question. Okay, that one is my winner, because anyone who asks QA about QA, I love you. So in what, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but that's my winner. So I've been training freelancers about improving their QA processes for years. Like classes on proofreading and editing and setting up processes to do that. A lot of freelancers don't use a process. No. So how I carry out QA, I have a process, it's a checklist. And it's a different kind of checklist for each client or each type of project. You know, as a translator, if I am doing a press release, I don't have the same QA process and tools as I do if I'm doing a 100-page executed pharmaceutical batch record, which includes handwriting and markup on it, as a patent or a user manual, right? All of those require different QA. However, personally, my CAT tool, the QA functions in my CAT tool and Xbench are crucial. And then if you have a tool in your language that is along the lines of ProWriting Aid or Grammarly or Antidote or one of those language related proofing tools, those are very powerful. So that's from the linguist standpoint, how I would say QA. I would say have a process. That's how and use these tools. I mean, there's LexiQA, all the, you know, as well as Xbench. Those are both the QA tools for our industry. And then there's the ones inherent to CAT tools. So that's a mixture of automation. And yes, I do still print out and take my my red pen, the red pen and the rulers and go to a quiet place and proofread quietly, because you can't automate everything, right? Like these tools are great for some things, but you do need to use your brain and have peace and quiet. I probably answered that one thoroughly.
I can contribute to that and say what we do from the other side.
Yes.
We manage the quality depending on the feature that we are going to test. And we use internal employees that are native speakers for those features that are not already in the market, for example, or need to be tested before the launch to the market. And then we use our partners, the agency, to test regularly all the rest. Let's say that the customers are normally watching.
Yes.
So we are divided, and as Karen said, we also use a guide, and we use other tools like Jira in order to report the issues and track them. And we use some points to mark them, to know if they are really localization problems or internationalization problems, or how we can solve them internally in the company, because not all the issues or all the errors that the translators or the reviewers find can be solved by them. I mean,
some can be fixed by an engineer or someone else. Yes. So the good thing, the important point about this, sorry, we have 5 minutes left, is that there are several tools to perform QA, to automate QA. So it's very important to get to know them. And besides, you can always have your red pen and make notes on a paper that never fails. And I think that there's a very interesting question that we can all answer very, very briefly. It's, I'm curious to know, that's the way they start the question, behind the scenes, what is the #1 challenge you face day by day?
Well, I have a one.
One? Only one?
Yes, just one.
Every day says, I think it's the communication or how to spread our work inside the company. Because normally it's a training process. Every new employee, we need to train them so they know what is localization, and we are there for help them. But sometimes in a big company, you lose the presence, let's say. So you need to keep communicating by newsletter or sending information. In the case of the engineering, normally when we have an issue, they remember to contact us, because normally the process is more kind of automatic, so they don't need to check with us every day. But so I think that our challenge is to be in the top of the mind of every area, so they can use our services. That's
okay, I'm going to hurry you up, girls. Natallia.
Just one word. Okay.
One word, yes. Very
Autonomy.
Quickly, because you have to announce the winners.
Yeah,
and we have only 3 minutes left.
Yes. No, I was saying autonomy. I mean, we all the time need to build things and tools for our team to work smoothly and to solve things without being scared of touching the wrong key. So autonomy, we work all the time on that.
Here we have some winners: Glenda, Leon, Inoja Marquez, Gabriela Saizar. Those are the 3 winners.
And Amanda Shaw, the 4th one.
Amanda Shaw, yes. So we have 4 winners: Amanda Shaw, Glenda Leon, Inoja Marquez, Gabriela Saizar. Those are the 4 winners. The 4 girls, ladies are going to have their coaching 1-hour session with you. So congratulations.
You can choose
Amanda. Thank you.
Talk.
Yeah, and if you can use just one word, Karen and Natallia, to say your everyday challenge, that would be great. So we can round up the whole panel. That was super interesting.
Fitting it all in. Fitting everything in.
Yeah,
that's the biggest challenge.
That's one. Natallia?
And for me, since we're optimizing our product constantly in our processes, it's finding the tools that will also make the final result accessible without bias and inclusive and empathetic.
Okay, perfect. So we're about to finish. It was very, very interesting for me to have you all here. We really enjoyed this conversation.
Remember to visit the website.
Yes, please visit the website, register in Women in Localization. Any other announcements? Become a volunteer.
Become a volunteer. I mean, it's great to share. This is about giving voluntarily. We are not paid for any of this. We're just passionate women working for the industry and with a common goal. So you're all invited to be part of this wonderful team.
Thank you all for being here. We are about to finish. I'm not sure if it just ends and cuts or if not, but we want to.
Well, let's smile for a photo then.
Okay.
Yes,
and all the cameras could be turned on.
Sorry?
All the cameras can be turned on, or
I don't know if that's possible in a webinar. I don't think everyone else can turn their cameras on.
No.
Right.
But so we should smile.
So let's
just smile. And thank you to all participants. I hope you really enjoyed this panel as much as we did. And we will hope to see you soon in another event, panel, webinar, whatever. Have a wonderful day. Yeah. Have a wonderful
somewhere
day.
abroad. Yes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.